Big dog, from my perspective, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is in a really weird spot right now. Despite Supreme Darkness being a set not worth buying, I talked about it in a previous video, and had some cards that were absolute bangers, game changers to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game that you need to be aware of. So today we're going to be talking about those particular things and everything you need to know about this upcoming format. Let's go ahead and jump on in. What's going on with ya, big dog? And it is an amazing day for Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope that your day phenomenal. But if it isn't, don't let what happened at the beginning of your day ruin the rest of your day. Today, we have something special, in case you guys don't know who I am. Hi, I'm TheCaliEffect, and since it is Monday, it's Update Monday! A particular portion where I scam you into thinking that it's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Video, but instead, I actually make you a better person overall. Don't worry, if you don't want to hear an Update Monday, you can skip to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Portion of the video. I left timestamps. But you'd really be doing a disservice if you did skip this portion. In my last Update Monday, I talked about how I wanted to be a teacher, and my first interview, while I thought I nailed it, it didn't land me the job. I'm telling you, bro, I thought my interview skills were crazy good. I even did a fake interview on Twitch, and they said, yo, you got it. But despite all of that, it didn't get me the outcome that I wanted, so I reflected back mentally and came up with a new game plan on an interview for a different job. And let me tell you, yeah boy, employed now. I'm gonna be teaching middle schoolers dual school. The moral of this Update Monday is really, really simple. Even when you think you did everything correctly, if it did not get the result that you wanted, there's always room to go back and do better. Ironically, that's exactly what we're talking about in Yu-Gi-Oh! Too. Always looking at a situation that you're currently in and trying to take advantage of every single angle. We may not reap the benefits of our hard work today, but one thing that we will do is sow the seeds for us to be able to prosper in the long game. Now, there's some pretty weird things that I've noticed that's happening in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. Of course, I want you to let me know down below in the comment section if you're experiencing this or if I'm just going crazy. But one thing that I've noticed in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that it is almost impossible to stop some of the best decks in the game from comboing. Basically, what I'm saying is that hand traps almost feel useless at this current time. Let's take, for example, the two best decks in the game, Yugioh and Malice. Both of these strategies are already incredibly strong by themselves, but what players have been doing is incorporating other engines inside of those decks to make them very malleable against hand interruptions. Like, for example, players are mixing Yugioh with Dogmatica Mitsurugi or even Bestial Fiendsmith or any combination of those two strategies. It means that when you use cards like Effect Veiler or Infinite Impermanence on the Yugioh Dual Drive, then all they have to do is follow up with a Mitsurugi card or even just go full Fiendsmith combo. And even when those particular situations get stopped, they have another layer of engine to follow up. From what I've observed from the top players in the game, everybody is playing gas on gas on gas. Heck, even Malice players have started to play Fiendsmith inside of their deck, which I always thought was really, really weird, but it's working. I don't think that hand traps are completely useless. Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring is really good for stopping the Volcharmy cards, and Droll and Lockbird is crazy against those Yu-Gi-Oh! Strategies with tons of engines because they often need to search a lot. What I've noticed to be really successful is to play those hand traps that are standard like Droll, Imperm, and Nibiru. Nibiru's crazy, but also really strongly consider playing Bestials too because they do a pretty good job of helping you shut off both sides of your opponent's engines. I think that it's pretty weird that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has evolved into this mesh of a whole bunch of engines. Me personally, I'm not a really big fan, but like I said before, we are always going to make sure that we are most prepared. And something that has also caught my eye is that these heavy engine type Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks, they also don't really put up any negates. In case you're new to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game, typically what a negate is a card that can negate spells, traps, and monster effects, and though it's not exclusive to just those cards, those are the cards that are really hard to stop because they can stop anything you throw at them. Cards like Better on the Floor and Borreload Savage Dragon are really powerful because not only did players use them to prevent themselves from losing to Nibiru the Primal Being, they can also stop powerful board breaker cards. Fortunately enough, in the TCG, those cards are banned, and finding a card that can negate spells, traps, and monsters isn't as easy. But it also means that board breakers are really good. Book of Eclipse isn't as strong as it once was against Yugioh, because a Yugioh player would just use Yugioh Detonator to destroy itself and then Eclipse Twins to summon it right back. But one card that I think is phenomenal is Ultimate Slayer, because they can't respond to the card's effect and the Yugioh Detonator goes to the extra deck. But the problem with Slayer is that it's pretty useless when you go first, which is why I like cards like Forbidden Chalice. This card has the versatility to be used on your opponent's turn, but also can be used even when you have monsters in the field, which technically makes it stronger than Infinite Impermanence. Foolish Burial Goods into Black Goat Laughs I think is also completely insane, because it completely shuts off Yugioh Detonator, but if I'm being honest, that's me being really technical in Yu-Gi-Oh! I love jumping into that from time to time, but the overall sentiment is that strategies are getting a little too strong. And unfortunately, this has multiple consequences that makes things in Yu-Gi-Oh! Really weird. See, not only is Yugioh, Malice, and the cards adjacent to him going up in price, or are really expensive, the cards being used to counter those strategies are expensive too. I really hate how Konami decided to print all of the Molcharmies in Secret Rare. These cards could be considered staple Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that are pretty good against the best decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Unfortunately, if you want to have some cards that seemingly help fix the game, you're gonna have to shell out some serious cash, and the worst part about it is that in a couple of months, you're then going to have to worry about these particular cards getting reprinted to the dirt in QCR Stampede. Supreme Darkness is a very odd set. It gave well-deserving support to some pretty fun Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks, but the problem with it is that those strategies are now fairly expensive. Crystron actually got some support that makes the deck ridiculously good, at the very least playable. Unfortunately, because of this, both Crystron Kurokon decks as well as Crystron Citri are also really expensive cards now. The Mermail situation is no better, because we have 2 waves of support for this deck, and we've also had reprints for the last rarity collection, giving us cards like Dragoon, Nephthys, and Abystius, but some of the most important cards weren't reprinted. Mermail Abyss Pike and Mermail Abyss Gaios, which is completely mind-boggling. I mean, from a business perspective, it makes sense. You build up hype for these particular strategies by giving them support, and then later on in the year, you reprint some very key and needed cards, but from my perspective, it seems really scummy. Because right now, at this very isolated second in Yu-Gi-Oh!, you're gonna have to spend a lot of money to play these potential strategies, which will more than likely be reprinted in Quarter Century Stampede. I'm not gonna go much deeper in that because I think that Konami's shading printing tactics deserve an entire video. But if it's something that you wanna see, go ahead and let me know, because boy, I'm ready to unload on them. I'm ready to unload! No Diddy though, no Diddy. I just thought about that. That did not sound right. But speaking of decks like Mermail and Crystron, it brings me to another really weird situation. Rogue Yu-Gi-Oh! Strategies. I like that Konami gave support for Tingy, technically Tingy Sword Soul. I just so happen to have made a deck profile on it. And I also think what they did with Heroes and Gladiator Beast is really interesting. Not only did that inspire TJ and I to start a whole new series using only anime decks, it also inspired me to make a whole nother channel to start putting deck profiles a little bit more frequently on, called TheCaliEffect. But overall, the current state of Yu-Gi-Oh! For Rogue strategies is... So the good thing is that Rogue strategies are incredibly fun to play. Hypothetically, if you participate in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament without Bestials or without Malice, it's actually a very fun Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta. I'm not telling you guys to go to your locals or your regionals and be like, no Malice, no Bestials, no Ryzios or Mitsurugi. In reality, strategies like Mermail, which just got a few tops over this weekend, is very good in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. There's also Crystron, another really strong Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck. The only unfortunate thing is that if you refer back to what I said earlier, these decks can get a tad expensive. There's also Blue Eyes that's coming out in a couple of weeks that could potentially turn it from a 2-deck format to a 3-deck format. I'm not 100% sure if that's going to be a thing, and it's simply because Blue Eyes can't play as many engines as the top decks in the game, but it could happen. Maze of the Masters is also going to give us some TCG exclusive cards that were played by Odeon. That alongside of the newly released Argo Star Monsters, which is a deck centered around Trap Monsters, Eldritch, and Silhat Rabbit, makes me really question what's going on with Trap Monsters, and if, like I said a couple of months before, Trap cards becoming really good. There's some things that I'm really excited for, and then there's some things that I'm concerned for in Yu-Gi-Oh! But I really want to know, what do you think, big dog? This video was really fun to make, so if you want to see more discussions, make sure to give this video a like, and then also you can ask questions or put video ideas. I'm all open to them. And before I leave this video, you already know what I gotta do. Fit check the haircut, that's 10 out of 10. Check the fit, repping my own gear, mommy milkers, 10 out of 10. I know you guys say that this is a shooting sleeve, but I wear sleeves during football because I'm a dog, 10 out of 10. But most importantly, I know you are a 10 if you click on one of these videos, so I can catch you on the next one.